A new political announcement tied to Donald Trump has reignited national debate around direct payments, often described as new checks. As headlines spread rapidly, millions of Americans are asking the same questions: are these checks real? Who would qualify? And when could money actually arrive? While excitement is understandable, the details matter more than the buzz. This report breaks down what has been announced, what is still only a proposal, and what households should realistically expect next. Understanding the process behind government payments is essential to separating confirmed facts from speculation. The announcement centers on the idea of renewed financial relief tied to economic pressure, inflation, and middle-class strain. Trump allies describe the plan as targeted support rather than universal stimulus. Unlike past pandemic-era checks, these proposed payments would likely focus on specific groups, such as working families, retirees, or taxpayers meeting certain income thresholds. Importantly, no checks have been authorized yet. What exists today is a policy signal, not a finalized law. That distinction determines whether money moves quickly or remains only a campaign promise. One of the most common misconceptions is that an announcement automatically means payments are imminent. In reality, any new checks would require congressional approval, funding allocation, and administrative rollout. Even if a proposal gains momentum, weeks or months of legislative debate typically follow. Past stimulus programs show that timelines can shift dramatically. For families counting on immediate relief, this uncertainty can be frustrating. That's why understanding the process helps households plan responsibly instead of making financial decisions based on early headlines alone. So, who could potentially receive these new checks? Early discussions suggest eligibility could be tied to income, tax filing status, or benefit participation. Working households, seniors on Social Security, and possibly veterans are frequently mentioned groups. However, nothing is final. Lawmakers often adjust eligibility to control costs or target voters most affected by economic changes. Families who file taxes regularly and maintain accurate records tend to be best positioned if payments are approved. Those outside the tax system may face extra steps. Another key issue is how large these checks might be. While some reports speculate on round figures, no official amount has been confirmed. Payment size often depends on household size, income level, and budget limits set by Congress. In previous programs, higher earners received reduced amounts or nothing at all. If this proposal advances, expect similar income phase-outs. That means not everyone would receive the same payment, and some households may be excluded entirely. The delivery method is also important. If approved, payments would likely be distributed through existing systems such as direct deposit, mailed, hex, or prepaid debit cards. Agencies like the IRS or Treasury Department typically handle this process. Families with outdated banking or address information often experience delays. That's why staying current with tax records remains one of the smartest preparatory steps, even before any program becomes official. Scams tend to surge whenever new checks are discussed publicly. Fraudsters exploit uncertainty by sending fake messages claiming early access or guaranteed eligibility. It's critical to remember that the government never charges fees to receive benefits. No legitimate agency will ask for personal information via text, email, or social media. Families should rely only on official announcements from government websites and major news outlets. Staying cautious protects both finances and identity. Another concern is how new checks might affect existing benefits. Depending on how the program is structured, payments could be excluded from income calculations or temporarily counted. Programs like SSI, SNAP, or Medicaid often include protections, but these must be clearly written into law. Beneficiaries should never assume checks are harmless. Waiting for official guidance before spending or transferring funds can prevent unintended benefit disruptions. Political timing plays a major role in what happens next. Announcements often coincide with election cycles, budget negotiations, or shifts in public opinion. Even popular proposals can stall if lawmakers disagree on funding sources or eligibility rules. Families should watch not just what is promised, but what is passed into law. History shows that many proposals change significantly before reaching final form. For middle-income households, the appeal of new checks lies in easing inflation pressure. Rising costs for housing, food, and healthcare have strained budgets nationwide. Supporters argue targeted payments could provide breathing room. Critics warn about long-term deficits. These debates influence whether checks become reality or remain campaign rhetoric. Understanding both sides helps families form realistic expectations. Retirees and Social Security recipients are paying close attention. Fixed incomes make price increases especially painful. While no specific guarantee exists yet, discussions often include seniors as a priority group. If included, payments could supplement monthly benefits without replacing them. However, retirees should remember that nothing changes until official legislation is signed and funded. Working families with children may also be highlighted, especially if payments are framed as family support rather than stimulus. Past programs show that lawmakers often favor households with dependents. Still, eligibility rules can be complex. Families should prepare by keeping dependent records accurate and tax filings up to date. If the proposal advances, the next step would likely involve congressional debate and committee review. This stage determines funding levels, eligibility, and oversight. Public pressure can influence outcomes, but legislative compromise is almost always required. Watching these developments gives families a clearer sense of whether checks are moving closer or fading away. It's also possible that proposed checks could be rebranded or merged into other programs, such as tax credits or savings incentives. Government support doesn't always arrive as a standalone check. Understanding this flexibility prevents disappointment when final outcomes look different from early headlines. Financial experts advise families not to budget for money that hasn't been approved. While it's reasonable to stay informed, relying on unconfirmed payments can create risk. Instead, households should treat announcements as signals to prepare, not guarantees to spend. Preparation remains the best strategy. File taxes on time, update personal information, and follow official sources. These steps ensure that if checks are approved, families won't be left behind due to paperwork issues or outdated records. As the story develops, clarity will replace speculation. Real programs come with clear rules, deadlines, and official instructions. Until then, patience is essential. History shows that major financial programs rarely appear overnight. In summary, Trump's announcement of potential new checks has sparked attention, but many steps remain before any money is distributed. Who gets paid and when depends entirely on what becomes law. Staying informed, cautious, and prepared puts families in the strongest position for whatever comes next.